exercise your rights to freedom every day without leaving your home. We don't just say, we do. It's the Stain City way.
Good afternoon and welcome to Real Talk with me, Anele. The Oxford Dictionary defines body shaming as the action or practice of humiliating someone by mocking or making critical comments about their body shape or size. Body shaming on social media has become increasingly common these days, and it can get pretty nasty. Truth be told, it's not a new phenomenon, and it happens everywhere. Schools, taxi ranks, our homes, places of work, even in our bedrooms, affecting ordinary South Africans and celebrated public figures alike. Today on Real Talk, we've invited different voices to join in the conversation surrounding body shaming, starting with bubbly radio and TV personality Buji Bigwa. Welcome.
What's up?
Do you know what I don't like? It's that bubbly word. They never use bubbly for skinny people.
No, they never. They never.
I'm like,
no,
what are you trying to say?
because you are.
It's like vivacious, or bubbly,
if not
or
bubbly.
larger than life, and you're just like,
Like, but why can't you say other things? Because I'm still talented
Just-
beyond
or like
anything.
funny, witty,
the cool, the gorgeous,
beautiful,
the amazing,
stylish.
you know. But next, never.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Never.
And and you know, as a kid, you don't like pick up on it, but the more you grow up, you just like you realize that there's certain things that are not asked of other people. So I don't know if you went through this. So I'm gonna ask you now. When people say, "Where do you get your confidence from?" Is it not insulting?
It is, because number one, they say, hey, you can dance. I'm like, no, but I just think everybody can dance. Like, no, for your size. You can.
You
yeah,
dress well.
TV needs people like you. And then you're like, but beyond anything, you know. And so I even stopped dancing at all, because now it's taken like, oh, he's big. Yes, let's jive. I don't like that.
Yeah.
Because honestly, if I can dance, I can dance. Beyond that, don't come here with funny, you know, names and gimmicks. You know, it's not nice.
So for me, the whole, you know, where do you get your confidence from? It's not only insulting, but it's very dangerous to assume that to be confident, there has to be like a defect with you, or according to you, there has to be something wrong with you, and then now you wonder, why are you so confident when there's something wrong with you? Because ultimately, that's what you're saying to me.
Exactly.
When you're asking me, why am I confident? So as a kid, when did you first realize that, no man, but here I am the butt of people's jokes?
When I did grade 10, because I used to enter so many competitions, and you know, I used to love entertaining so much. And there was a point whereby I remember my teacher was like, you are gonna dance for us. I'm like, no, I don't feel like dancing. He was like, no. I mean, people like you cannot just say no. You must just go and dance. And then I was like, but I'm not
People
forced like you. You know, I'm like,
cannot say no to us.
So I'm like, but what does she mean? And then I said, no, I'm not gonna do it. And I didn't do it. And then I was like, so when I saw we born, you know, that was in high school. And that's when I realized that even when people would mimic how I dance, I didn't like it, because in my head, I thought it's really nice. And then someone starts saying, you do, and then you're like, that's not how I imagined it.
So that's all you see when I dance?
You know, that's all I see. And when you rehearse, you put effort into it. And it's not taken like, okay, someone is really working here, it's taken as a joke. So that's when I was like, well, actually, I think I'd rather do my own thing and not succumb to certain things.
So you said that you thought that when you were growing up, you'd be ridiculed more for being gay than being fat.
Yes.
And you found that the number one thing that people would attack you on is your weight.
It's my weight.
Yeah.
And I remember the first thing that they said when I was on radio, starting on radio that time, they said, we thought he was thin. You know, and I'm like, but...
What does a thin person sound like?
You know, that's what they said. Like, we thought he was, you know, he sounds very thin. You know, most gay guys are very petite, so we're not expecting. Next thing they knew is this, and most of them, when they see me, now they say, how, you are this tall? Because everybody thinks I'm a midget.
Okay.
And I'm literally, like, I'm a tower.
Yeah.
So I used to get a whole lot of those. And then now the fat attacks started coming on, especially when I joined Twitter.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe my life. And I had hair on, and then they'll draw these funny cartoons and put my face like, oh, this is Bushy from YFM, like, this is how it looks like. And I was like, but I am not ugly.
Does it not annoy you that, because I mean, you and Dino Ranaka had easily one of the most popular shows. In my opinion, after Fresh's Breakfast, your guys, like your show was the most popular at YFM, like, you know, no doubt. Did it not annoy you that no one is attacking your talents or attacking your ability to be a broadcaster, but rather what you look like?
I think till today, there's one thing that I always ask myself, because no one has ever said to me, you are whack, you're not talented. Actually, it's always been about, oh my God, you're so fat, why are you doing that? Because I used to have long hair. Before I used to have like long braids, and those are the only things that were attacked. But in terms of talent and in terms of my work, no one's ever said anything negative about it. So I've never really understood, what is it exactly you want from me? If I had to gain muscles now and become utombo, how is that going to make you sleep at night? That's like,
but you did lose weight when you did Dance Your Butt Off, and then you still were ridiculous for losing weight.
Let me tell you what happened when I lost the weight. I didn't get the hype or the affirmation that I wanted.
Look at his revenge body.
Look, he looks so good. It just when like I lost weight, I mean, next thing's like, turi. I'm like, oh, am I not supposed to? You know, because for me, I thought maybe losing weight at that time is going to make me,
acceptance.
You know, get me the acceptance from people to say, actually, has worked so hard. Nobody really cared. No, it just became a science, and then I went back, I became a size 56. You know, after that, because you don't get the validation.
And also because it's psychologically taxing. It's
very.
Right? It's psychologically taxing to be ridiculous like that your whole life about your weight. And then you lose the weight, and then there's no affirmation. And that's why people who lose weight, like 90% of the time, they'll put it back on because you're also losing it for the wrong reasons. And
Exactly.
You don't know how to stay there. So there was a Christmas thing on the 26th of December, the fat one that stole Christmas, the Christmas spirit.
Let me tell you. So I did a shoot, right, with Pravda, it's an online magazine.
Yeah.
So they were working on my website.
There it is, yeah?
Yes, that's one. So they're like, what do you want to do? It's like, I've always wanted to take like a nude picture type of vibe. Like, and then Lawrence, the photographer, like, put in a wig, let's do it, let's just be fun. And I thought, literally, it wasn't a matter of me trying to get attention or trying to cause controversy, because in my head, I'm thinking, they've seen Tsekeleke, you know, topless, Ricky, what's his name?
Rick Ross. Who's the other one? Yabona ke la bantwana
yes. So you get that vibe. With me, it was different. I mean, the likes of Levo Mashile had to intervene on Twitter and literally defending me. So many celebrities, like so many entertainers, literally, because I was called the fat gay that stole Christmas on the 26th of December. Because now the shoot is out and everybody is, my sister is getting calls left, right, and center. The Sunday World is writing. And at that time, I was asking myself, at what point is this extremely disgusting to that point that people are like, yo, what was he trying? And when other people do it, it's okay. But with me also, you are gay, you can't be doing that. Oh my God, you're so fat. And I'm like, but I was just having fun. It was just pure fun.
Have you ever like cried about what you're being put through because you're fat?
There was a time when it really, you know, I used to even be afraid of posting my pictures eating on social media, or because
I know that.
Yeah, because but the first thing
you just like, oh, people are going to be like, oh, who food
you are still eating. That's the first thing, and I stayed away. So the other time, I was eating hot chicks. Then my friend took a piece, like I'm posting. I'm like, don't. Just like, what's your problem? Like, you know, the first thing, I'm going to become a meme.
Yeah.
And then I used to stay away from just posting things on social media. And then my friend said, look at your life and look at where you are right now. How dare someone chilling wherever you have never met them before, and then you let them steal your happiness like that? I don't invite people into your space, you know. And another thing that helped me is also learning to keep quiet and not responding.
Yeah. Because I mean, then you're entering like into a mudslinging,
exactly,
and no one can see,
and no one can see
who the wrong person is.
There was a point where someone used to swear at me on Twitter like almost every day. I literally went on a search. I wanted their address, their cell phone number, because I wanted to go to them and say, please tell me I am here. Let's work this out. What's wrong with you? So it does steal your happiness. And when people post these things, they don't even care. For them, it's just a joke. They don't think you're somebody's child. You know,
You have feelings.
You have feelings, and they will continue. And it takes away from yourself, even the relationships and the people that you meet in your life. Because you end up dating a random guy just because you want to feel loved. And
I was actually about to ask you that. What does that do to your romantic side? Because for me, it feels like, when you grow up being told that you're constantly fat and you're fat, you get surprised when somebody hits on you. You're like, you're like,
yeah, because
do you know what I'm saying? So you almost like, because you don't think you're worthy of that love because of you've been told you look a certain way. So is that something you experience, and do you feel like you've like avoided love because you're like, oh my, how am I even gonna take my clothes off with this man?
Exactly. I used to avoid relationship as much as I could. And then when I started, and another thing you need to understand, I wasn't aware of the power that I have in terms of my work. So that's another thing. And so now when someone approached me and then said they loved me, like, oh, then you take them in. And then something like, actually, this is not what I want. Then it comes another, then you keep it. And then I looked at myself, I'm like, I can't continue like this. It's not because now I keep on having them because I want to feel it's a validation. Which actually you can get someone, you know, you are worthy.
And it's tough for you to get out of the, is it tough for you to get out of the relationship because you're like, Marabuji, look at you, who else are you ever gonna get?
No, I think an ego played a role the same part. Good girl, you know, one of those that it just took over.
I am bougie,
you know, like after all. You know, but then I had to reason to say, you can't go into a relationship thinking that someone needs to love you in a certain way because you're bougie, or if somebody loves you for who you are, that's what you need. And also your weight should not compromise how you need to be treated in a relationship. Because it's not like someone will date you knowing very well that you are big, but all of a sudden it's like a surprise act in a relationship.
You walk in the house, they're like, oh,
they're like,
where did
don't you think you need to lose weight? And then you're like, Mara, at what point does it feel right for you to say I must lose weight now? Because you didn't find me size 28. That's what I was saying on social media. If you found me, or if you knew me when I was a size 28 and said, oh my God, it's gained so much weight, would have been something else. I came to you guys as big as I was and you accepted me. Now that I'm here, you're telling me that I'm big. What must happen?
Listen. I hope you like screaming amen in your lounge, right? Send us your 20-second voice notes to be part of this conversation. What experiences have you had, and how did you get over the hurtful things that people have said to you? Do you use comedy as a shield to hide your pain? More than this, how do we raise body-confident kids? Stay with Real Talk. After the break, we'll talk the consequences of being shamed with psychologist Thabang Tlaka. Come back to us. And welcome back to Real Talk with me, Anele. So today we're talking body shaming after it recently made headlines at Fashion Week and even on a popular television show. It's a thin line between joking and being downright mean to someone over something as personal as their looks. To help us understand the psychological effects of body shaming, I now welcome clinical psychologist Thabang Tlaka to join Bougie and myself in this conversation. Welcome, Thabang.
Yes, hi, how are you?
I'm great. So I like definitions. I like the Oxford Dictionary ones. And from a clinical psychologist like yourself, hit us off. What is body shaming?
When we talk about body shaming, we're talking about the practice of humiliating somebody through mocking them, mocking their body parts, mocking their entire body. In fact, some people would try to be, they think they're helping you, but they shame you about what you look like. So it could be, so we could fat body shame, we could thin body shame, we could people with masculine or athletic physiques or bodybuilders, so we could do those kind of things, and then we body shame them. So they feel, we think we are, as I said, motivating them, but they feel bad about what you're saying.
So typically, when someone body shames somebody else, I always, because it's bullying ultimately.
Yes.
And you know, the bully, I always believe, feels that there's something wrong with themselves. That's why they need to deflect their insecurities onto somebody else. So typically when you find that somebody's body shaming someone, what is their psychological construct?
Which is a beautiful thing that you're asking, because we cannot hurt somebody without us feeling bad first. Because you have to keep it in yourself first. Before you see something bad about somebody, it starts with you. Then you start making them feel bad because you try to psychologically sort of one-up them. You try and make yourself feel better because they apparently look worse than you.
Stop. You have to say that again.
Yeah.
And you cannot make somebody feel bad without it living in you first.
Yes. Because for you to dump it on somebody, it must come from somewhere. So you have to harbor it to deliver it. So part of why then people body shame people say nasty things is because they themselves are struggling with something.
Yeah.
Because if you love somebody, we relate to other people the way we relate to ourselves. If you're full of love, that's what you give. If you're full of hate, then that's what you give.
Wow. I'm gonna vote for you in the next elections. I hope you know. So did you find that, because you know, when people would, because I was in Strictly Come Dancing, right? And it was like, oh my word, this fat person in Strictly Come Dancing, what is she doing there? Oh wow, she can do the charge. Oh wow, she can dance. And I found that the Sunday papers were also like writing me about the fact that I'm a size this and I'm doing that, right? So I'd go through instances where I would see where the insult is coming from, right? And then you almost want to attack them on what you deem to be a defect about them.
Yes.
Is that what you were doing?
That's what I would do. I mean, like he said, I know how to be mean. I'm a master of meanology. Like, because you know why? It's been done to me and I know it has lived in me. There were times where I used to look at myself and discuss it myself. So it's easy for me to, that's why, besides being also about the size of, about weight or anything, also being gay on its own, when you've been ridiculed from a young age, that's why you find most gay guys are very good at emlomeni, because they've learned to literally fight back. So that's what happened with me. I'd also be nasty to other entertainers as well, you know, just for control and just snide commenting because I'm not content.
Because you want to do it before it gets to you.
Before it gets to me, so I'd rather like take the attention elsewhere before it focuses on me again. And so it's like that.
So what are the dangers of coping mechanisms when you are constantly being body shamed? You come up with coping mechanisms, like, be it like you hide it behind humor, you diss yourself first, you self-deprecate. Can you unfold those to us?
So you overdo things, you overcompensate in relationships. You find you're sometimes a bit too friendly. Sometimes it takes on a dark side in that some people develop then perhaps eating disorders. Some people cut themselves. One's self-esteem takes a knock, and you need your self-esteem to thrive in anything. So you struggle to try things. So people engage in, you try to be, I suppose, the center of attraction sometimes because you feel so bad, or sometimes you might withdraw. So people cope in those manners. They sometimes don't engage in relationships because they don't believe that other people would be interested in them. So those are some of the things that we do, that we avoid, because somehow we feel as if we cannot be authentic, because when we are ourselves, other people don't like that. It's not a good thing to hold within oneself.
And when you say, like, you know, when your relationships, you find that you can't believe that that person is with you. Is it also when you've been constantly body shamed, be it for being fat or skinny or too tall or too short or whatever, that you kind of, you think on other people's behalf, like when they look at you with your person, you think that they're thinking, what are they doing together?
Yes, because there's a
Did you go through that? Okay, let's get the academic side and get the personal side.
Yes, I was going to say, because there's a certain narrative that you then accept. Society gives you a certain narrative. You are this person and this is what you deserve. And sometimes you accept that. That means anything that doesn't fit in with that narrative, you start struggling with. You struggle to be yourself, because now what will people say? Because now this doesn't fit in with if I'm a celeb, or if I'm interested in certain things. But if people know this about me, but will they accept me? So you struggle just to be an authentic person, because now there's a narrative that you are accepting.
So you've kind of built a life that you think that you belong in, because you look a certain way.
Yes, and you cannot live your life without paying then the price for it, because it's very hard to pretend. At some point you cave in. At some point you develop habits that are not useful for you, because now you're trying to be somebody you're not.
Okay, so you were agreeing with him a lot in terms of, you know, you kind of think other people are thinking, how did Bougie get that guy?
Always the case. And you know what happens, Ne? I also remember with one of my exes, all the time when I was with him, everybody look at like, Sabi fame. It's like they can't believe, like, how is it possible? And you also end up doubting yourself, even when you go to these parties. All of a sudden, he's getting more attention because they feel like you are not worthy enough of being in that space. And you also start living that as well and thinking, oh no, maybe maybe I was forcing myself to be in this relationship. Maybe I don't deserve it. Or maybe I just need to lose weight. Or maybe have more money for me to feel inadequate enough for me to be here. And then, and that happened. And unfortunately, it does compromise the relationship in the long run, because now you start being insecure. You start, you know, looking for fights or wanting them to prove more that they really want to be with you. And if they can't prove much of that, you feel like,
Did you ever feel like, because, you know, being insecure about one's physical appearance is something that's always handed to women. Like, it's our thing. Like, oh, a woman looks herself in the mirror and be like, oh, does my butt look big in this? Like, we are the ones who are constantly judging ourselves about the way we look. Did you ever feel like, Puji, you're a guy, honestly, like, get yourself together. Like, what is wrong with you? You're supposed to think this is okay.
Yeah, I mean, there was a time I was looking at a Volvo dress in like a t-shirt. I'm like, I would never, but I'm like, but why am I comparing myself to him? You know, I need to respect him. He's comfortable. He's a man. And I was like, actually, I need to man up to this situation and not think like a woman and just be a man about it. And I did exactly that. And that's when I even, like you're saying, you hide yourself through so many things, because I used to have like long hair, always heavy makeup, and those was just a whole facade. It was so hard maintaining that. And when I was content with myself, when I was so happy with myself, I felt no need to have the hair on. Even if I have to have hair
the
on
layers
now.
come off,
like the layers, like, you don't have to have hair on now to be just because I want to, not because it's a must. People must feel that I'm here. So I had that, and I took it off, and my mom was a bit shocked. Like, and then I grew the beard. Like, I am tired, man. I can't do this anymore. I feel like I've clowned enough. I'm at an age where I understand myself better, and I'm okay. And I'm still good. I'm validated as a human being now. I'm okay. I've done it all. Now it's time to grow to the next chapter. And that's what happened. So as I was content with myself, I let all the things go.
It's time to be Puji.
It's time to be Yaz. Find me.
Okay, listen. Thank you.
Thank you.
You have been so refreshing. There are so many people sitting and nodding at everything you're saying.
Thank you
Thank
so
you very
much.
much.
Thank you.
You're not going anywhere. We're still going to abuse your psychological degree here. Some difficult truths that we can all relate to, right? Thank you once again to Puji for coming through. Join us after the break as we continue to talk body shaming. And welcome back here with Real Talk on SABC3. Body shaming affects everyone and can be linked to almost any feature of our appearance, from weight to hair to skin tone to the size of your lips to your nose. My next guest, Andi Sandlovu, she's been a victim, but for reasons different to Puji's. Apparently, you were too skinny for life.
Yes. So I was very skinny. This is me having gained a little bit of weight. And, you know, in a big Xhosa family, hi, I'm up, I'm Gondo, you know? and you grow up with that message being communicated to you over and over again. And you go to school and other kids are teasing you about having these small legs. And you just, I mean, what am I going to do?
What must I do about
Exactly. And to a point where, I mean, at some point I was convinced I was a tomboy and I liked wearing baggy pants,
kind of
exactly, yes.
Weight.
And I realized, no, man, but I actually am very feminine, but I can't really be that because I'm trying to hide the parts of my body that I'm shameful about. I mean, I think I'm only settling into my body and how I look now.
How old are you from now?
I'm 28.
28.
Yes.
So you said you moved to a high school in Umtata,
Yes,
Umtata High?
yes. No, St. John's.
St. John's.
Yes.
Oh, go. Okay. So you moved there and you say that just escalated.
Yes. And so I think the main issue was that I was 2 years younger than people in my class.
Yeah.
So truly speaking, one, you're coming from a rural area where the diet and everything is completely different. You're not eating processed foods and all of that. Yes. So your body is
lean.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you're not growing at as much
Yes.
rate as the other kids who are
You're
growing
not
up eating.
developed.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and the kids in my class are 2 years older than me. They are urban kids who've been eating cheese all their lives.
Drinking.
Exactly. And so I was just this flat person next to them who looked like a boy.
Yeah.
And I didn't get any attention from boys, and my friends were getting boyfriends and all of that. And I was sitting there thinking, oh my God, what is wrong with me? You know, and I mean, people who went to high school and university wouldn't tell you much about me because I was the kid who,
invisible.
yes, trying to hide. And I mean, I'm very opinionated, and a lot of people didn't know that because I was always trying to hide and
disappear.
you know I actually wanted to do beauty contests like other girls, but I was like, people are gonna see my legs. People are gonna...
So, Bang, how much more difficult is it to deal with it from a psychological side when you look, because for instance, when you're skinny and you like, I get teased for being skinny, because for me, like being like that, girl like you, like you wanna tell me you can eat and not put on weight. So obviously, there's a certain level of difficulty in healing someone who is deemed to be lucky in the way that they look, yet they were ridiculed.
Yes. So, Anele, pain is pain. So if you are being body shamed because people are saying you're fat, if they're saying you're thin, if pain is pain. So when it comes to you as a human experience, it's painful for you because they're not accepting the person that you are. So you struggle to be authentic. You struggle to say, I'm a human being. And here I am. Embrace me for who I am. And so, and the culture gives us different standards of beauty. We say, but this is the ideal body. And if you don't fit into this thing, then there's something wrong with you. So what I find is that most people struggle. If you ask a person and you say, but when you stand in the mirror, what do you see? Most people struggle with that. The comments that come from their brains, what they think about themselves, it's not wonderful things. So I'm okay, but I think I could change this, I could cut this. But yeah, so that's what people struggle with. Pain is pain.
Is it not difficult for you because, you know, you'll be like, oh no, I'm so skinny, and people are like, but you're so lucky.
Exactly. I think my main issue was reconciling the messages that were being communicated to me and positive feelings about myself. Because I mean, if on a daily basis, this is, I mean, I know my legs, I see them every day.
They're mine.
They're mine.
Trust me, I woke up, they look like this.
So now, if this is constantly being communicated to me that there is something wrong with the way you look, and I look at myself just like, I don't know how to then communicate to myself that actually there's nothing wrong with the manner in which I look. So I've always had that struggle of trying to reconcile the two.
Do you still have it?
No, I think I'm now settling.
Yeah.
I'm at that point where I woke up, I was like, I'm tired.
Yeah.
I have to, at some point, learn how to live with what I have. There's nothing I can do with the manner in which I look.
Yeah.
And I think that's when I started appreciating myself. I mean, I started wearing things that show my legs about a year or 2 years ago. I used to wear like ugly stockings and leggings under nice dresses because I didn't want people to see my body. So, and I mean, the problem is that how do I hide behind my own body? Where exactly, Nditini. So yeah, I'm now settled. I'm okay, but I can say that I've been recovering. And imagine spending your late 20s recovering from daily tormenting. Yeah.
Okay, so we've got a WhatsApp, and I want both of you guys to weigh in on this one. Roll it.
Hi, Anele. I just want to ask thee, like, how do you then regain your self-esteem after you have been body shamed? How do you regain it back if you have lost it?
Okay. So now you've been body shamed and you've had this cloud on your head since you were a child. You're in your late 20s, and I mean your formative years are far from over.
Yes.
Then how do you regain it?
It's to understand the fact that you cannot be anybody but you. And if you can accept yourself, it doesn't matter who says what, but that is you. You cannot be a different person. So I would say one of the things you have to accept is that you cannot please everybody. So you are unique, you are yourself, be yourself. And then once you're comfortable with that, other people's comments will just bounce off you.
Yeah.
And then you start doing things that bring joy to your heart. Go in the direction that excites you. Find something that you like about yourself. Celebrate that. And other people usually catch along. Once you're okay with yourself, other people struggle to bring you down.
I think for me, it started with having frank conversations with myself and the people around me. And people would ask me, why don't you just wear this dress? It's so nice and all of that. And as time went, I realized that it's because to a certain extent, I agreed with people that there was something wrong with me. And I had to start from a point of realizing that there's actually nothing wrong with looking the way I look. And then affirming myself on a daily basis.
Yeah.
From the men, if I see a nice dress and I don't want to buy it, I need to ask myself, am I not buying it because I'm just not comfortable, or it will reveal my legs and I don't want people to see my legs?
Yeah.
So it's those conversations that you have to have with yourself.
Are the difficult conversations to have? Obviously, the most difficult one is with yourself because you can't ever leave your mind, so it's a constant conversation. But I mean, you were saying even your family, you know, like, so surely you have to sit down with them and be like, listen guys, this is me.
Yeah, I think as time went, it sort of just stopped. And also I think people realized that it doesn't bother me anymore. But also I have learned to tell people if they say things that make me uncomfortable, that actually that's just unacceptable. You're not going to say that to me. So yeah, it's a matter. It's a lot of work that you have to do internally. It's a lot of communication to people about boundaries. That there's stuff you're not going to say to me. It is not acceptable. I will not take that. But it takes time.
I like
it. Takes time.
You said something very profound about boundaries and like the stuff you're not going to say to me. Tabang, would you say that it's important then when you are having these conversations with yourself to say to Anele the stuff that you're not going to say to yourself about yourself?
Definitely, because remember, you can't control what people do to you, but you control how you respond, but that starts internally. Words hurt because we believe them partly. So if you believe that you're okay, it doesn't matter what other people say, but if you are respectful towards yourself, if you are loving towards yourself, if you set your own boundaries that you don't insult yourself, give other people ammunition, when you are clear with that, when you don't diss yourself, shame yourself, then you are in a better position to deal with the rest of the world.
And quickly in closing, and I think this is very important, I read it in a book somewhere where the quickest way to know that if you have an issue with yourself is how do you react to a compliment?
Yes.
So, yeah, right?
Definitely.
So unpack that for us psychologically, like how is a person who's comfortable with themselves reacting and how is a person who's not comfortable with themselves reacting?
Okay, so when you are comfortable with yourselves, let's say we have like human beings have this alarm system. Certain things move us, certain things don't.
Yeah.
When you are moved, pay attention. So when you find yourself in a position, somebody says something, but it knocks you or it affects you, it helps you to actually just go into that, but why does this thing have such an influence on me? And once you resolve that for yourself, then it's easier to live your life.
Tabang, like, I want you on my WhatsApp group. Morning, Tabang. Hey, Andisa, thank you so much as well.
Thank you for
I think you've helped many, a little girl and boy come to terms with themselves today. Body shaming is humiliating with often painful, long-term consequences. Join us after the break as we speak to a media law expert on how to sue them. And welcome back to Real Talk. To help us understand the consequences of body shaming online, we're now joined by media law expert Sarah Hoffman. She's joined by writer, poet, and journalist Kanyima Gubane. Before I come to them, just want to read a few of your tweets. Ria K says, skinny body shaming tends to be overlooked in our society. I suppose because people think that it's more difficult to lose weight than to gain it, which is not true. I have many friends who are trying to gain weight, sometimes to conceive, and they couldn't get to a certain weight, so we certainly hear you. And body shaming from Maureen Mutsene, body shaming at school scars deep. Let's teach kids how to talk and interact with one another. Very true. So Sarah, you deal with a lot of how to conduct yourself on social media because there's consequences,
Absolutely.
right? So what are some of the most heinous body shaming social media posts that you've come across?
Well, I think, as you said earlier, Anele, body shaming really is a kind of cyberbullying, and you know, in the social media context, we'd say cyberbullying. And you know, in our office, I think every day we see the most ruthless cases of teenagers just being so nasty to one another, about one another, just saying the most heinous things, calling them sluts, and I mean, I don't even think I can say them on air, some of the things that people are saying about one another. You know, a lot of times we'd see people going onto other people's social media profiles, taking photos, and then creating these accounts where they just throw all sorts of insults at these young people who are so very impressionable, as we've spoken about. And the difficulty with you know, this all being so prevalent in schools and amongst young people is, you know, that the teenagers aren't emotionally equipped to deal with this. So our practice actually doubles up as a reputation management company and sometimes a psychology practice.
I was going to say, you guys are therapists as well.
Because
so what happens? Are parents coming to you guys to be like, this is what this person wrote about my child, I want to sue them?
I think every day we either get desperate calls and emails from principals, teachers, parents, students themselves, who sometimes too embarrassed to, you know, for their parents to know what's going on. So, and it's an absolute epidemic. And I think what's important to remember is that bullying's not new. You know, bullying's existed for ages.
There's a platform to you know, for it to expand.
Sure, and the difference between now and, you know, when I was at school says, when I was at school, the bully would bully and you'd go home and have a bit of a break. But now it's around the clock. So you can't escape it. And it's also so much easier to say these dreadful things behind a screen. And I think that's why we've just seen such a huge upsurgence of body shaming, bullying, and all these, you know, people saying these really terrible things about other people online.
So Kanya, you were on The Biggest Loser.
Absolutely.
Right? Is that not, in a way, itself body shaming? We're going to gather around some fat people, we're going to make them run, and then watch them drop weight.
You know, Anele, I have to say, this is the very first time that I am publicly speaking about that experience. You must remember that I've been in the public eye all my life. You know, as a media personality, but also as a pastor's kid. You're also growing up in the church, and everybody's attention is on you. So you were talking earlier on about defense mechanisms, and the one thing that I've always said is that I will kill them with my mind. So you become extra smart. You're going to ace the test in class so that what you don't have in a perfect body, you have in your mind. So that becomes your strength. But there comes a time in your career where you want to get to the next level, and you want to be in front of the camera, and you want to do, you know, all the things that you know you were born to do. And at the time, I have to actually tell you, when The Biggest Loser was auditioning, I was there at Red Pepper to visit a friend. I didn't even know they were auditioning for The Biggest Loser. And they said to me, are you here for the auditions? I'm like, what auditions? They're like, we're auditioning for Biggest Loser. And for me, it was a very flippant thing. That I thought, oh, okay, cool, I'll do it. You know, I didn't really, it wasn't a deep, profound thing that I thought about, but the experience scarred me for over 5 years. And I'll tell you why. You sign a contract when you go onto these reality TV shows, right? When I went to The Biggest Loser, I was dealing with endometriosis, right, at the time. And I think at the time I'd been bleeding for 15, 16 days. So I was already weak, and I was already, you know, very, very, you know, not in a good state of mind. But I kept to it, and I went at it. And I collapsed, okay, at some point. But that was never filmed, and that was never showed. And I was rushed to the emergency room. It was the Palito Netcare, I think. And they gave me medication, and I stayed there for the day, and I went back into the Big Loser house. At the end of the week, you go in for your weigh-ins, and I was taking medications every day, and I was about 2 kilograms heavier than what I was when I came in.
But they'll film the fact that you got heavier and not the process and how you got
Absolutely.
heavier.
So there was a distortion of the truth, and what happened is that the media and the papers tore me apart. They say instead of going to lose weight, Kanye gains weight, and they had this big picture of a fridge, you know, with all this food and my picture in there, you know, and showing that, and with this big sign that says gains weight. And I went into a deep depression. And I went into a shell, and I felt ashamed. I felt humiliated. Contractually, I couldn't tell my side of the story because I think there was like 12 to 24 months where you couldn't talk about what happens behind the scenes. And I felt ashamed. I felt like it was the worst move I could have ever done in my life because...
Did you leave that week?
I left. I was the first person out.
God.
I was the first person out, you know, and I could not tell my story. Now, remember, I'm getting out of the Biggest Loser house. I still need to go back to my radio show. You know, I still need to go back to being a journalist. I still need to go back to being, you know, the public figure that I am.
And you drop weight.
You know, and I did drop weight. I actually dropped about 10 kilograms in total by the time we did the final show. But I think what happened to me from that experience is that I withdrew in, and it was a process of actually coming out of myself and actually realizing that all parts of me matter.
So now, Sarah, you look at this and you're like, okay, but she put herself there.
Yes.
You know, she was asking for it. She's the one who went to the Biggest Loser. Okay, fine. Media personalities, there's a certain amount of hate that comes our way that we anticipate. Yeah. When it comes to the normal Joe Schlo, how are you protecting yourself against these things? Because yes, also, I'm here, but I go home to be a normal person. So how can I protect myself legally from being cyberbullied and body shamed?
You mean once it's already happened?
Yes.
What are your recourses?
Yes.
So it depends on the content, obviously, but there are probably 4 main legal avenues you might be able to pursue when content like this about you is put online. The first is that it might be appropriate to sue for defamation, which is
when the picture of her in the fridge, come on, guys.
Yeah, that's when your reputation is seriously impaired, and it sounds like that was the case with you.
Yeah.
Unfortunately in South Africa, defamation awards are not very high, and it's quite a lengthy process, but it definitely is a legal avenue available. Another thing we could do is when it's a person that's when it's an individual that's responsible for this hurtful content, you could actually lay a charge of crimen injuria, which is an infringement of dignity. It's actually a criminal offence.
Yeah.
So there's that option as well. It's important to mention that your rights to privacy and dignity are constitutional rights, and often with these cases of body shaming, both of these rights are being infringed. So there's also an option to lay a legal case for the infringement of privacy, if the content is very private.
Yeah.
Say somebody's hacked into my account or hacked into my phone and taken naked photos of me, or maybe I've started a new gym program and I want to do the before and afters, and it's me in my underwear, and someone got hold of that and they put it online without my consent. That's absolutely an infringement of privacy. And the last legal avenue that could be relevant, again, depending on the content, is sometimes when it's done in a sort of harassing way, where you think that you could actually be harmed in the cases of some bullying, you could actually go and get a protection order at a magistrate's court under the Protection from Harassment Act.
Okay.
And we're seeing increasingly in our practice as well, that's often a remedy used when there's quite hectic cases of bullying.
Okay. Sarah Hoffman, thank you for your time and your
It's a great
expertise.
pleasure.
Kanya, I hope you've healed from this and you're better.
Absolutely.
Okay, great. We hope that today's episode will help us appreciate ourselves and acknowledge that we're all different. Maybe we can think twice before posting derogatory memes or passing a humiliating comment about someone's appearance. Thank you to all my guests, Kanye Magubane, Sarah Hoffman, Andy Sandlovu, Buji Biuka, for getting real with us today, as well as our psychologist, Tabang Tlaka. We're not done yet. Real Talk is back after the break. And for the last time today, welcome back to Real Talk on SABC3. The stage is yours. So tomorrow at 5 p.m., I'm making a date with you now. Okay, don't be late. We'll be with the hilarious good racist. His name is John Flismus. Right now, though, the Department of Science and Technology is building a productive knowledge economy that will ensure that South Africa unlocks its potential for economic growth and remains competitive at a global level. Take a look at the success science story, and from us and the rest of the team, good night, South Africa.
My name is Belus Ntuli. I invented a chargeless electric engine. I also invented the PSTC motor. That PSTC motor is the heart of the chargeless electric engine.
7 years ago, Millie Sintuli's application for startup finance was rejected, and this paved the way for innovation that required little financial support, an engine that needed no fuel and electricity.
In 2014, I was trying to get a funding for my driving school. Unfortunately, they rejected to give me that fund. I came home and I started drawing something in the picture. If I can show you, it doesn't make any sense. Then I started interested to understand how does the electric motor operate. Then how does the fuel engine operate. Then I have to study how does the electricity being produced. Then I have to go from power stations to research for electric motor.
The rejection would be a blessing in disguise, as this created an opportunity for him to explore a concept that resulted in him developing a solution that could soon benefit society and potentially the world, and have now become examples of the program's potential for innovative thinkers and job creation.
I invented the chargeless electric engine first. It used two batteries. That battery are independent from each other. The other one, it will be used to power the power self-direct current motor. That power self-direct current motor is powering the alternators. That alternators is powering the main battery. That main battery is responsible for powering the whole engines. It can rotate at a speed of minimum 18,000 revolutions per minute up to plus or minus 40 revolutions per minute without electronics. The chargeless electric engine can be used in vehicle, locomotives, even aircraft and helicopters.
You can now find this 31-year-old former industrial engineer who used to make cars from wire at the Durban Institute of Technology, working on his engine under the tutelage of Professor Prinsloo.
I met Prof. Prinsloo when I was looking for funding that can fund the project. During that time, I already had a machine. He even advised me that you can go further and do masters out of this project.
The Department of Economic and Development in KZN called me up one day to say that they've got an inventor that have showed them some interesting idea, and they wanted me to meet with him and to see if we can, from the university side, give him some advice and to help him to commercialize his technology. We taught him the finer details of design software, and so he started to use that design software to design his own components for his project. We guided him to help him to get in contact with the Department of Trade and Industry to file an application for a patent for his idea.
I approached the Department of Science and Technology. They are the one referred to me to CSIR. They were the one who's supposed to help me to manufacture the actual engine. The project will be completed by the end of next year. Every design of it is already been completed. Only thing is left now is to print out those components and put it together.